The first sign appeared on a Tuesday morning. My grandmother, her hands steady and her eyes cold, fastened a piece of rigid cardboard around my daughter Sophie's slender neck. The single word, liar, was carved into it with thick, angry marker strokes. Sophie, just 7 years old, stood frozen, her tears a silent protest against the verdict delivered by the people who were supposed to be her sanctuary. This was my family's response to her whisper the night before, a secret she'd shared with me in the dark. Mommy, Uncle David hugged me too long and touched me under my shirt. It felt icky. We were living in my parents' house, a temporary arrangement after my divorce that had stretched into a suffocating permanency. From the beginning, my parenting was a daily critique. Too soft, too modern, too forgiving. Sophie was spoiled because I listened to her feelings, manipulative because she had a voice. So when she found the courage to speak that terrible truth, they didn't hear a cry for help. They heard a character flaw, an inherited melodrama from her overly sensitive mother. The dinner table had become a tribunal. Sophie, men show affection differently. You're misunderstanding, my father declared, his tone leaving no room for debate. My mother nodded, not even looking at her granddaughter. She's always been a storyteller. Remember the imaginary friend? This is just more attention-seeking. But it was my grandmother, the family's moral compass forged in iron, who pronounced the sentence. A false accusation is a sin that destroys good men. She will learn the weight of a lie. I fought back, my voice shaking. She has no reason to make this up. We need to believe her, and we need to act. My words were batted away like gnats. We will not drag this family's name through the mud over a child's fantasy, my father boomed, ending the discussion. Their idea of teaching was a masterclass in cruelty. The liar sign was just the opening act. For 1 hour, they made Sophie stand on the sun-bleached front porch, a spectacle for the mourning neighborhood. I was physically blocked from the door by my brother. Let the lesson sink in, Kate. Your coddling created this. Inside, I pressed my forehead against the cool window, watching my child's small shoulders shake, each passing car a fresh wave of humiliation. The punishments evolved with a cold creativity. That evening, Sophie's place at the dinner table sat empty. She can eat in her room until she's ready to confess to her fabrication, my mother announced, passing the mashed potatoes as if discussing the weather. I heard the soft cries from upstairs, harmonizing with the clink of cutlery and the mundane chatter below, a sound that will haunt me forever. The signs rotated daily, a wardrobe of shame, disgrace, attention seeker, fabricator. My grandmother, with a perverse pride, would walk Sophie around the block, offering unsolicited explanations to curious neighbors. We're correcting a moral failure, she'd say, her hand firm on Sophie's shoulder. The threats escalated to ensure compliance. We'll have to tell your teacher you're a compulsive liar. Maybe you need to be evaluated. My uncle, David's brother, cornered me in the laundry room. You're letting her ruin my brother's life over a hug. You need to back us up and break her of this. But they were the ones being broken down, piece by piece, though they didn't know it. In their arrogance, they documented their own downfall. While they saw a subdued child learning her lesson, I saw a brave girl clinging to the truth. Every night she'd curl into me, her body still shuddering from the day's indignities. I'm not a liar, Mama. I know, my heart, I know, I'd whisper, the promise solidifying into a plan. Their campaign of shame became my evidence log. The extra shifts I worked, I was meeting with a patient woman from Child Protective Services in quiet coffee shops. The errands I ran, I was consulting a family law attorney, my phone heavy with secret recordings. I captured every soul-crushing directive, every callous diagnosis of my daughter's character. I have my father's voice, clear as day, telling the neighbor, we're finally teaching that girl honesty, no matter how harsh it seems. Their grand finale was a forced written apology to Uncle David, to be delivered in front of the entire family on Sunday dinner. A public reckoning heals the spirit, my grandmother said, placing the note card in Sophie's trembling hands. The morning of the performance, the house buzzed with a grim, righteous anticipation. But we never made it to the dinner table. As we gathered in the foyer, the doorbell rang. Standing beside the CPS caseworker, Sarah, was a uniformed police officer. My father's face flushed with instant indignation. What is this? Sarah's gaze was like flint. We're here regarding the multiple reports concerning David Miller. The word multiple hung in the air. She then looked directly at me. I handed her my phone. My thumb found the playlist titled Evidence. I pressed play. The hallway filled with their own voices. My grandmother's decree about sin, my mother's cold planning of solitary meals, my father's boasts of harsh lessons, my uncle's venomous pressure. Hearing their cruelty amplified in the sterile light of day stripped it of all its domestic justification. It was just abuse, stark and simple. Sarah listened, her jaw tight. When the clip ended, the silence was absolute. You systematically terrorized a child for reporting inappropriate contact. You made her wear her shame while you protected a potential predator. This is textbook emotional abuse. Then the officer delivered the second blow. Mr. Miller is already under investigation following similar allegations from another family. We are here to formally interview Sophie with appropriate support in a safe environment. The collapse was almost physical. My mother's hand flew to her mouth. My father deflated, all bluster gone. My grandmother simply stared, as if the foundation of her entire world had crumbled into the parquet floor. We were trying to protect the family, she stammered, a weak echo of her former certainty. I finally stepped forward, placing myself between my family and my daughter, who was clinging to my leg. You were trying to protect a comfortable lie, I said, my voice surprisingly steady. You taught her that her safety means less than your reputation. You taught her that the people who should love her most will betray her first. The following days were a blur of grim resolution. David was formally charged. The same day his arrest was reported in the local news, Sophie and I moved into a small, furnished apartment funded by a victim's assistance grant. The boxes were few, but the space was filled with something we hadn't known in months: peace. I sent one final text to my family. Do not contact us. Any future relationship will require you to first complete a family violence intervention program and genuinely reckon with what you've done. The decision to heal is now yours. Some have chosen that path, sending awkward, careful letters that acknowledge haltingly the damage. Others have chosen the fortress of denial, painting me the villain who tore the family apart. I no longer care about their narrative. My loyalty is not to a bloodline, but to the small hand that holds mine, to the truth that almost cost her everything. Sophie is in therapy now, slowly rebuilding the confidence they tried to shatter. The most important lesson I've taught her wasn't about strangers or even about boundaries. It was this: your voice is your own, and it is powerful. And I will always, always be listening, ready to roar back at any world that tries to silence it. We are a family of two now, and our foundation, forged in fire, is built on a truth they tried to disgrace. We believe each other.